Hey guys, CR Classics here. Welcome back to the fourth and final part of my Lotus Esprit Restomod versus Lotus Esprit stock sort of mini-series that I'm doing about my car, which is the stock car, and Mark, my good friend Mark's car, who his Esprit is a Restomod. So if you've seen the other parts of this mini-series, we had our first video, which is a walk-around of Mark's car, the Restomod, with my car next to it as a sort of comparison, which did really well, and you guys really seemed to enjoy. So we thought we'd sit down and do an interview, and I'd go over all of the 200 questions that you guys asked in that video in the comments section. We thought we'd sit down and answer those instead of typing them in the comments. We thought we'd give you a proper answer face to face in front of my car. We actually recorded so much content that I've had to split it into a few videos, and this is the fourth and final part of that interview. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you've enjoyed this sort of mini series. If there's anything more you'd like to know about Mark's car or my car, if there's anything you'd like me to do or film about anything that I've said, whether it's about Tomorrow's Classics, which are the guys over in Bristol who did all the work on Mark's car, or whether it's questions for Mark, questions for me, things you'd like to see the both of us do together with both cars. I know we're planning to take them both out when Mark's got his car back, to do some sort of drive-by shots and some drone stuff and some more footage of the cars moving, as obviously we've only done walk-arounds and things like that. So to have two of these cars together and capture it for you guys, I think it'd be really special, and a few of you have requested it as well. So anything you'd like to see, just let me know, and I'll try and get it done. But I hope you guys enjoy this last part of the interview, and keep your eyes peeled for more videos coming soon, as I'm really going to try and post more regular content this year. And I've got some really exciting stuff planned as well. So keep your eyes peeled. Hope you enjoy the video, guys. Let's crack on. Right, so a few other comments were about the engine cover and the engine in the rear of the car. So do you want to address what people have sort of said, what you guys have said about things like the lights, the engine cover, and the engine itself?
Yeah, okay. So I know from the some people haven't necessarily thought that the colour in the boot, works for them with the body coloured engine cover and the wheat carpets, and that's again that's really personal choice. I was asked if the engine colour, because it's lighter, reflects off the rear glass, and therefore you get that reflection. And I'll be honest, I've never noticed that, so that isn't something that I'm aware of. In terms of the engine, I've been asked why not turbo it for more power, and all I can say is I don't like the added complexity of putting a turbo onto an engine in an aftermarket way, and I was never after power. This was never about I was never chasing that, so it was always about reliability. So when I fuel injected the car, or had it fuel injected, it was about reliability. That's it. The fact that we got, and it's just come off the rolling road last week and is now up to 235 brake, is a bonus. But I was never chasing that. Is it the highest output of all time for a 2.2 litre engine? Well, I do know that the Sport 300, which was running the same engine that came out as an it was an X180, I think, car, came out in the early 90s, was running the highest specific output for a 4-cylinder 2-litre engine at that time. I couldn't say now, but I mean, I think the comment was that, gosh, that's quite a lot of torque and quite a lot of brake horsepower coming from a 2-litre engine, and it is. This is a good engine. Back in the 70s, this was 60s tech essentially. You're looking at an engine that was an aluminium block, when not all engines were, with 4 valves per cylinder, twin cam, double overhead cam. This was a very modern engine, and here we are 40 years later, and it's still 235 brake is, of course it's not 700 brake horsepower at the supercar, but that's not what this car is.
No.
So it is fantastic. So the output is pretty impressive. Let's be honest.
Keep up with modern traffic as well, which is
Absolutely,
wasn't it? Usability and not have to worry.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and be able to use it, but I'm not. I don't use it on tracks, and it's not about sort of hitting 0 to 60 numbers. But it's certainly a good drivable engine. The EFI element to it, the electronic fuel injection. This is everything I know. Just to answer everything I know on this, it is it's a DTA. Pro Series ECU mated to a Gen V throttle body assembly with Pico fuel injectors, and that's essentially as everything I know. It does take quite a lot of setting up. We didn't get you don't just magically get a map for your particular car. So it's just come off the rolling road again last week. That's the second time it's been on a rolling road. So we have had to do some fettling, set up cold starts, and because we've got an ECU, we can do many settings, much more than you can do with carburetors. But that means you've got to do many more settings. There is a greater level of complexity there. What you get at the end, I think, is let's say is improved, but it's a long and winding road. Let's say. And why didn't we start the engines in the last video? It's a good question. We just didn't think to do it. We are... Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, we didn't think to do it because we're going to do a video of both cars driving anyway, which will show off the sound of... I mean, they're not fantastic sounding cars. They're not known for the sound, but I love the sound of mine. You love the sound of yours. And they do sound slightly different, but I didn't think it would be a major part of the video, and we're planning on doing a drive anyway, like we said, in the new year. So hopefully that'll show off the cars moving and the sound of them, and both our opinions on driving each other's cars. So we're just saving that for another video, really. That's the reason we didn't do it, to be honest.
So I think the drone was having a fault last time because we were thinking about it. But we'll come to that, and that actually would be nice because we can dedicate time to that. As far as the lights are concerned, so the lights are at the rears per side. It's 204 Cree LEDs in a sandwiched printed circuit board that are mated to the interior of the lenses. Why did I do that? Well, for visibility, of course, and for safety, and because I could. No one's ever done it before. This is breaking new ground. The circular light, there's a comment there that you've made the stop light look like a stop sign, and that is a bit silly. It isn't. That's the fog light. You can't get a square in there because of the way that the lens works. And the front lights, they're 53 Cree LEDs per side, again on sandwiched printed circuit boards. They're all designed in CAD, sent away somewhere to be printed. It's all very complicated. And the reason why I put an arrow on the front indicators was because I could. And when you're going to so much effort, a bit like the wheels, when you go to that much expense and effort, you might as well make it a bit more interesting than simply something that doesn't stand out. Yeah, and the thing about the lights for me is they're not on almost all the time. So they don't fundamentally change the look of the car, except of course when you're indicating or when you're braking or whatever. And why have the high rear brake in the DRLs was another question. Well, the high rear brake, I hope kind of speaks for itself, really. And that's obviously about safety. And the DRL's the same. People expect that now. You're driving along a road. That's what people are looking out for. When people go to overtake, they're looking for lights in the distance. They're not trying to pick a very low car out of the background of the road scene. So it makes sense to me, and I think they work as far as, of course, they're non-standard.
And in the daytime, sometimes you do get people who are sympathetic to old cars and do give you space and don't go zooming past you. But at night, no one's to know any different. And obviously, I don't use this at night, but you use your car at night, so safety is paramount, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, and I don't want to be rear-ended or have somebody decide to overtake as I'm oncoming for the lack of lights. It's a choice. And I also got asked about my pods. One of them looks low on this side, and whoever the eagle-eyed person that spotted that, absolutely right. And this is because they've obviously been out. The car's been restored. We're still going through a few snags.
Yeah.
The lights have been replaced, but that's got nothing to do with the pod angles. And actually, I think this one was a little bit low, and I think that one actually is a little bit high. Yeah. And the reason is simply because I've spent the summer using my lights, which I haven't been doing before, and so they're settling. Yeah. So we set them up, and they've been up and down a few times over the sort of the period since I've had the car, really since the spring. So we just need to. So back in the garage, they'll be fettled now, just to make sure that they're adjusted properly. But I mean, I can't help but think better lights. I mean, there are modern sports cars with terrible lights. So it does seem sensible if you get the opportunity to replace with perfectly legal, perfectly legal LED lights. It doesn't seem like a terrible idea to me.
No,
but
not at all. So we've had a few comments about the Pinnacle as well, about some of the switches in there. So do you want to explain why you've done what you've done to it, really?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. Well, so I'm not sure that Lotus, at the time, they'd moved very quickly from being a kit car company to essentially building kind of supercars, which is really, what the Esprit. Now you can make the argument about engine size and everything, and so I think that was a big leap. And some of the kit and equipment wasn't necessarily, in my opinion, kind of up to the spec that it should have been at the time.
Right.
Lotus, they've never been known. They've always been known for, complex ergonomics and things. And so I wanted to make the Pinnacle, which is where all the switchgear is in a Giugiaro Esprit. I wanted to make it a bit more of a special place because, as you'll know on yours, you've got sunken black Smith's gauges. Yeah. It's black on black on black. You've got exposed screws, three plastic panels. I'm not sure it really, rose-coloured, spectacles and all. I'm not really sure it is what it is. So I decided, for a start, I've got an electronic engine now, not a mechanical one. So it made sense to move to electronic gauges. So the gauges are Smith's telemetrics. Right. So they're sort of racing geared gauges. Obviously it goes faster, it revs higher, so the gauges need to be able to reflect that. And I decided that I like the idea of having white face gauges mounted on a bespoke fascia, so that they're sitting slightly more forward, they're easier to see, and anyway, that's the choice I made. But they're electronic rather than mechanical gauges, and I like the look of those. The toggle switches I chose, they look all right in an E-Type. I chose because I like the metal. So inside the car, there are effectively three colours. There's the champagne colour of the seats, there's the brown Alcantara, and then there's the chrome. And there is a little bit of chrome in there from the original car, and I wanted to highlight that. And it gave me the opportunity to take out the Lucas sort of British Leyland switch gear, which are these rocker switches, which are sort of, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of them. To be fair, and I had the opportunity to change those up. They're only toggle switches, and as I say, they're sort of 60s style. But I quite like them. They've got a bit of a fighter pilot, and everyone talks about that, the Pinnacle being like a plate, a fighter pilot cockpit. So I sort of wanted to go for a bit more of that. But I do understand that, of course, it'll split opinion because it's essentially sort of a bespoke makeup, and of course looks very different from what people will be used to. People have mentioned the Alcantara, and all I can say is my marker sight was 40 years old, sun exposed, sun damaged, marker sight fades really badly. It was essentially unsalvageable, and you can't buy marker sight. So even if I'd wanted to go back to the marker sight, and yours is in very good condition, really, I really couldn't, and it wears very badly around the Pinnacle front edge. I don't know what it's like on yours, but it wears very badly there, and that's not a great look, for where you're sat. So going for the chocolate brown, bearing in mind that there is a car in the world that was in the 2017 Classic Car magazine, that was the show car, beautifully, it's unrestored, beautiful car. Saw it this year at Salon Privé, and it was a show car for the launch of the S2. And that's got a brown, it's not Alcantara, but it's it's got a chocolate brown interior that's exactly the same hue as the Alcantara that I put in mine. Not that I think they put the marcasite in afterwards because they couldn't afford to use whatever material
so it's come from somewhere that was original, isn't it? It's not just an idea that you.
Yeah. So that colour is truer in a sense than the marcasite that went into the mass-produced, the production version. And I think it's a very 70s. It's brown Alcantara with champagne cloth interior and a splash of chrome. And I think I was kind of happy with that. Things that other people said, so the gear knobs for the aircon are plastic. I did get some milled aluminium ones, but mounting them, because it's a mechanical turn on the aircon, and it's a very, very small sort of crescent moon shaped or sliced circle, and you've got to get the right mate to work that, and we just couldn't get it. So we had to stick with the plastic ones. They're not great, but I've got a Mercedes that's got plastic knobs in it. So I expect that. So someone did say that it looked a bit like a Halfords clear out in my car with, I've got a little digital clock and a few bits and bobs, and fair enough. But I think it works for. Well, I think it works pretty well, so I'm quite comfortable. Somebody did ask about the air vents, whether they're Alfa or Ferrari air vents. To be honest with you, they're just aftermarket air vents that are very modern in style. The modern Lotus use that. I think you look at a Huracan or a reasonably recent Lamborghini, you'll see that those, not those ones, but the circular style vents. And what I like about those is they go all the way around. You can point them in any direction. The older square ones, they're a bit, you sort of can, but it's a bit that way or that way. And these more modern ones are much easier to direct, and I wanted them at the sides to be able to direct them at the windows so I can see out if I needed to demist.
More for practicality than style with those, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's not to say that I don't like have a preference for those over, because don't forget, on the original, on yours, you've got a single air vent above the glove box, sort of sitting there. It's an odd place, in a modern sense, it's an odd place for one of to find one. And I think on the interior, that's it. I think, it is obviously different to yours. It's more bespoke, but it's where I live when I'm driving a car. And so I wanted something that I would enjoy, and it's more visible to me.
And I'm a big fan of your interior. That's a main part of the car that I really, really, really like. I like the sort of chocolate brown look to it with the leather seats. I quite like your Pinnacle. I love the Apple CarPlay in the middle. Obviously, I'm a younger person, so technology like that in a car like this is really, really cool. And I think the reversing camera, things like that. If I could do that to this, I think I would. The wheels, I wouldn't change the wheels that you've got, but the little things like that, that make it way more usable, I definitely do to this, if I could afford to. So I think there's lots on your car that are definitely very, very tasteful additions, and I think there's a lot that you've done for practicality as well. Like I said earlier in the video, which allows your car to go wherever you want to take it. While mine is sitting here in when the weather's not so nice, you're out there driving around so people can see it, and yours is a Lotus that's being used like it's supposed to be. So
and I think there is an argument to say
it out very, very well.
And there is an argument to say, is it not better? I mean, because this is about this argument about stock versus, is it not better that these cars are out there being seen, being used in the world, rather than original and living for a long time, behind a closed door? And that's kind of the philosophy that I subscribe to. So but it's it's a free country, so people get to have an opinion, and I get that.
I think it's very brave as well of Mark to make a video about it. I know a lot of people would just keep the car to themselves and enjoy it, think I like it, don't really care what anyone else thinks, I'm just going to drive it, and people can say whatever they want about it. But a big thanks to him for allowing me to make the video and show you guys all about the car. And thank you to everyone who liked and commented on it and everything. We do appreciate what you've said, and hopefully we've answered everything. We thought it'd be best to do it like this than to comment. So thank you, everyone. Please like, subscribe, and follow me. And I'll put a link to Mark's website in tomorrow's classics as well. Who did all the work on Mark's car, all the amazing work on there. That'll all be in the description. But apart from that, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. See you on Classics. Out.